Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about how to set up the Google Tag Manager and events for a specific website. So the first thing is to get into settings. So settings, we can get in two different ways. One is using this open button here, or I can click on the gear, and then this takes us to the the settings menu. So there are many things here, but we're going to focus on the website pixel part today. So I'm going to click on that. So I already have a website pixel set up, so I'm going to select that now, and we can have any number of pixels set up. So I have one now called Crigloo.com, but if I need to set up a new pixel, I just need to click on the plus sign and follow the instructions.
Okay, so
but since
quick question on that.
Sure.
Do I set up one pixel for my entire website, or is it one pixel per page or one pixel per funnel? How do you decide how many pixels you need?
Sure. So it's one pixel per website.
So you don't do different settings, pixel settings per page.
No, well, you can do that. That's where the events come in. But then as a pixel, like when you add the GTM, so it's one GTM container. That's what the GTM calls. It's one container per website.
Okay.
And that's the same code that you add it to all the pages in the website.
Gotcha.
So the reason we have I'm sorry.
Yeah. So just to clarify, then the Google Tag Manager code goes on every page, but
yes.
In Google Tag Manager and through events in Crigloo, that's where things are actually getting broken up by page or by things that happen on a page.
Correct.
Okay.
So what Google Tag Manager does is it assigns like a container ID, and that's how it knows that it is a specific website, and the container ID remains the same for the entire website, no matter how many pages are there. And we have to make sure the ID is the same, the code is the same, because all the data gets collected in one container.
Got it. And so in part of the demo here, you're going to show how to link up events to different pages.
Yes, I'll do that.
Great.
So the reason we have given multiple, the ability to create multiple website pixels is, let's say you have got multiple brands and each brand has its own website, right? Then in that case, you would want to create multiple website pixels, one for each website, and the particular website gets linked to a particular brand. So that's the reason you can create any number of website pixels here.
Okay. And for terminology, is a pixel the entire Google Tag Manager code?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. See, pixel is a terminology that's used by Facebook, and Google calls it a beacon. We are following the Facebook naming convention, but essentially they mean the same. And Google Tag Manager is the one. That's another way of calling the same thing.
Yeah.
Pixel code, a tag management.
I think I read somewhere that the idea of calling it a pixel happened way long ago when they did tracking by actually placing a small graphical pixel on a web page.
Yes.
And then do the tracking based on when that image showed up and where.
Correct. No, that's still used because in images, we embed a 1x1 pixel there, and then when we click on the image, the code that's in that 1x1, that gets fired.
Yeah.
And that's actually what is actually pulling the data and then sending it. That's still true.
Okay.
So the technology has not progressed much, although we got many different ways on how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to select our website which we've already set up, or a pixel which we've already set up, Crigloo.com. So this is the screen that comes up once the tag manager is configured within Crigloo. So it also shows the status that's connected, when it was created, what is the account, and the container public ID. So when we open our any website, for example, when we open the code and look at the GTM, it'll have a specific ID, and each ID is tied to a specific website.
Okay.
And by the way, Keith, we have taken your advice, so we are making this much bigger. So this will happen this week.
Okay.
Right. So right now this button is very small, but I fully appreciate your feedback. So we are going to bring a big button here so that it's clearly visible. But nevertheless, so when we click on this one, so this window pops up, and this is the code that gets inserted in the head block, of every page.
Okay.
And this is a code, that's the Google Tag Manager code. So you'll get the same code if you had to say create the tag manager directly from GTM, right? So we have not done anything different here. Then if you notice here, here's the GTM ID that's specific to this particular website.
And to be clear, we do, because you have this here, we do not need to do anything directly in Tag Manager.
Correct.
All right, awesome.
Correct, yes. So, but in some cases, what happens is, see, if it's a new website, then you will have to create a new GTM container. But in some, other cases, like we have customers like that, they already have a website, they already have a GTM, right?
Okay,
so
the process then is first create the container for the website in Google, at the Google account, and then we can tie, then you're able to tie into it here.
No, correct. But if the website is already there, which means the code is already there and the container is already there.
Got it.
So then what we ask for is to give us access to that container, and then we start adding our own tags inside that container.
Okay.
So both ways are possible. It could be a brand new website, brand new container, which we can create, or we can link Crigloo to an existing container, which is already there in a website.
Okay, so now I'm confused again. Are you saying if I start with a brand new website and I don't have a container yet, I do or do not have to first create it at the Google account Tag Manager?
Yeah, regardless, you don't have to go to Google at all. It's all done, right here in Crigloo.
Okay, so you can create a new one or attach to an existing one.
Exactly. Both are done within Crigloo itself.
Awesome.
So this particular code, right, for those who do not have a tag manager, they can copy this code and then add it to their website. But adding it to the website is not necessary for somebody who already has the code, in their website already. So both cases we handle it directly from Crigloo.
Okay, and one thing that I'll just mention, because as Badri mentioned, other people will be watching this that may be even newer than me. And I only know this because of a little bit of study that I've done. One of the great things about Google Tag Manager is that the code doesn't change. The settings inside the Tag Manager change, and that based on linking the ID. So when you add new pixels, you add a new Facebook pixel or some other source, you don't need to change the Tag Manager. All you change is the settings within it. The code on your website never has to be touched again.
Exactly, yes. So in fact, that is what has made it very easy to, add events, remove events, and then also do remarketing. So in fact, we broadly put, pixels for the different channels. So for example, if you're connected to Google, Facebook, so we put 3 sets of pixels, right? One for us, Crigloo, where the data comes to our database. And secondly, we send data to Google. We send Google Ads, Google as in Google Ads. We also send data to Facebook Ads. And it's possible because we have access to the GTM code, which is already embedded in the website.
Got it.
So this is just a one-time setup, right? Once this is done, so we go down here to set up events.
While I'm thinking of it, here is a user interface idea. You're already going to do the bigger button, but maybe also have some kind of an indicator that it's been set up or not. So, and probably not automatically. So from a user, I would go in and look at that container code. Then I would copy it and paste it into my web page, web pages. And then I would come back here and mark it as done. and then you would put some sort of a check mark or other indicator so that it's clear, I don't need to look at that again.
Understand. No, that's an excellent point, Keith. We will certainly, make that part of the screen so that we know that we are verified. See, in fact, we can even verify that the code exists in the website itself.
Oh,
Yeah, we can do that. In fact, it's part of our roadmap where we are even talking to an extent that where you don't need to add code into your website. We will add it ourselves, right? In fact, Badri keeps, saying that for a very long time, we should make the whole process, so smooth and easy.
yeah.
Where you give us access to where your website code is and we'll just add it ourselves.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Keith, we've been discussing that. Like, for example, if you give us access to, if you're hosting it on AWS or any of the popular ones, then if you give us the credentials, then we can actually embed the code right into your website or HTML. And that way, we are reducing the friction of the transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, go ahead, Sri.
But as a first step, we'll give that check mark. So, somebody can verify or remember that the code has been added. That's an excellent point. We normally do that.
And now that you've explained it a little bit better, I think better than a check mark is verified. Just a tag as verified.
Correct. So let me explain what events mean before I get into setup of the events.
Yeah.
See, event, as the name indicates, right? It's something that happens on your website. For example, the very, very simplest type of event is you navigate to a specific page on the website, like by clicking on something on the website, right? So you may have like a contact us page, or help page, or a product description page, right? So that's a very simplest form of an event where a visitor to the website clicks on something and then something happens, right? So that's a very, very simplest form. But events can be quite complicated also. But some of the very common events, other than page load, is, for example, downloading a file, or submitting a form, or clicking on a button, right? The button could be an add to cart button, or a button that does something like play a video, right? That sort of thing. So each one is an event.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So on the example of clicking a link. So I'm on the home page and I click a link, say it goes to the contact page. Would I set up two events, one for the click and one for the load?
No. So what happens is, page loads by default are tracked. Okay. So we don't need to set up anything special here. In fact, many of our customers don't have any events at all, because all they need to know is, the events related to page load, right? So for that, we don't need to set up anything. If we do that, then it'll get tracked twice. So we actually should not be setting up events for page loads, because it gets tracked automatically.
Got it.
Whereas other cases, right, which is not, which could vary from site to site. Say a page load is very common across all websites, right? Because all websites have pages, right? Of course, there are these single page applications, which have to be set up somewhat differently. But most commonly, websites have multiple pages, and that's common across all websites. So it gets tracked automatically. But on the other hand, if I have like a submit form, or if I have a download document or an add to cart, that can vary from website to website, right? Not all websites are e-commerce. Not all websites, have a video to play. So that's where, we have to, add these events so that, those things also get tracked, when those events happen. Right?
Okay.
That's where these events come into play. And typically, firstly, let me explain, why do we need to even, track events, right? See, at a very high level, right, if you want to see the engagement on our website, if somebody comes to our website, we want to know what parts of the website, people go to. And by the way, we also track the amount of time they spend, they spend on each of those pages, right? So we also track that.
That's a separate event.
No, that's not an event. The time happens by default.
Okay.
The amount of time. So we track on every page, and we also track the overall time they spend. But if you just want to know, what kind of engagement do we have, right, on our website? So here I'm talking about a case, the simplest case, where we're not going to set up any events. We're just going to go with the default, website tracking, right? So from that we'll come to know, where are people spending a lot of the time. For example, if you look at Crigloo, we see a lot of people going to the pricing page, very quickly, right, before they even look at anything. So that shows that, people are very price conscious, right? So they want to see, how we are priced before they even consider looking at, any other page. So that's an insight for us.
Yeah, I do that a lot. It's like, if you're a $5,000 product, there's no point in me even looking any further.
Exactly.
One thing I know where tracking is really useful is if I've got 3 calls to action at the top, in the middle, at the bottom, they all go to the same sales page. I want to know which buttons people are pressing on. Is it more popular to press at the top, middle, or the bottom?
Correct. Absolutely. That's another use case, right? We want to know, where people go to. Sometimes I always, typically scroll to the very bottom and go to the top, but that I may not be the typical person. Maybe most people start on the top, come to the bottom. So that tells us, where what is actually engaging, visitors that come in, right? So all these are very useful things. That's all part of, web analytics, and we can do a lot, right? As long as we start collecting data. But one thing I'd want is, we have also seen cases where, we just start putting events on everything, right? Then, very soon we get overwhelmed because, we just have no idea what to even look for, right? So there has to be a fine balance between, very sparse level of tracking and tracking everything, right? So there has to be just like, we need to have balance in everything. So here also, we recommend, there be a balance.
Okay, so clicking buttons and links, that's an easy to understand event. What are some of the other types of events that are common, and why would you use them? Okay,
so here, we have got all these events here. Let me add a new one and then explain to you. So first is, we have categorized, some of the standard events, according to the, GTM convention also. So there is add to cart, checkout, payment, purchase, submit form. These are the standard events, right? So if I want to add say a purchase related button, I just select purchase. So this is, what type of an event it is, right? But on the other hand, if it doesn't fall in any of these categories, we can do a custom, right? So we've given something called a custom.
Okay.
So it depends on, what we want to track. So this is the first, input that's given. Second is we give a name.
One moment. So I'm
Sure.
confused about purchase as an example, because to me, if I'm thinking through my funnel, we click to an order page, and then they fill out a form, and then they submit the order form, and then they go to a payment processors like Stripe or PayPal, and then they come back to my thank you page. Well, if they get to my thank you page, I know they purchased. So why do I need that's just a page load event? Why do I need a separate event for purchase if I can know that they purchased by getting to the thank you page?
So it depends on the way that website is set up, Keith. So if all you are going to track is a page load when they go to the thank you page, then you don't need to set up an event, because page load is tracked automatically, and you can see how many people landed up in the thank you page. So that's not required. But there are other cases, specifically what we see in some of the e-commerce kind of play. Where there are, even to purchase, there are multiple steps that are involved, and they want to track every step of the journey, right? Not just the end result, but the journey itself. So they could have a button.
So if I were, this is an example where It's a thank you page. I know that you made a purchase, but I don't know how many items you purchased or what was purchased. Is that it?
Correct.
Gotcha.
No, that could be that. But let's say there are multiple pathways to get to the thank you page, right? And I want to track each of the pathways and see, which one is actually appealing.
Okay.
Then there could be intermediate steps, right? Or other steps that we would want to track to actually map out the entire journey till the thank you page appears.
Like, did I
So
do
in such cases, this
upsell
could
or
be
the
used.
downsell and the one-time offer?
Yeah, possibly. Yes,
Okay.
possibly all that. Yes. So that is the first input. And second is the event name. This is just any name that we could give so that we'll know that what it is. So let's say I've got multiple here. If you look at it, so there are multiple purchase events, and each one is named differently, right? Like a music and movement, parent total program, etc. So there are many things there, right? So these two are the very important inputs, right? When it comes to events, right? So let me click on this. So you could track the event based on what happens in your browser, right? So these are things that the browser will actually know, and the browser is the one that when that particular event loads, the GTM also knows that okay, this event happened and it fires that trigger, right? So these are the different ways. So this is mainly applicable. For example, let's say I have a purchase, right? And I want to track only if a very specific thing happens, right? So for example, if the page URL, and I'm picking something here randomly, the page URL contains a specific word, right? Only then trigger this event. I could do that. So in your case, for example, let's say you want to track the thank you page, right? But only if the URL in the thank you page has a specific let's say you track something called success, right? Only if it says success, please track, right? Otherwise, if somebody just goes to the page, because if it's a URL, anybody could go, but the URL doesn't contain the word success, don't track.
So that would be as an example, using the query string, value
Yes.
query string. Okay.
No, not necessarily the query string. It's in the URL itself, right? Any part of the URL.
No, right.
That has a specific word.
But if I'm talking about a thank you page, then it's not going to be the URL. It's going to be the query string that makes it unique.
Yes. And then likewise, you could do URL equals to, URL starts with, URL ends with. See, all these are possible, right? So this is all to do with the URL based, event, firing.
Okay.
And then there are those. I'm sorry.
The top two, they're both clicks, but it's different based on what we're going to put in the next box for the value. We're in the top one, we're going to put the element name. Otherwise, we're going to put what the displayed text is. Is that the difference?
Yeah. So this is slightly different. So whereas this is based on the page URL, this is based on the element on the website. So for example, in your let me take this example, element visibility, right? So let's say somebody goes to your thank you page, right? And because it's a URL, right? You could type. In fact, it has happened to us too, right? We have all these fake entries when our people are testing because they keep going to the page, right? And we don't want to track that. But what happens is when there is a real purchase, right? Let's say Stripe sends you back some kind of a code, right? And then when the code comes, you make something visible. So what could be visible is on that page, you may say that process successfully, for example, right? That's not in your URL, but that appears on the page. That element in that website becomes visible, only when under certain conditions, right? And we want to track only if that element becomes visible.
Would that also for scrollable visible? Like it's not visible because it's on the bottom of the page and you have to scroll down to see it?
No, it's not that. It's not the scrollable visible. It's programmatically made visible.
Gotcha.
So there is a logic in that page, and that particular element becomes visible only if the, only after the logic, the code runs, right? And then if it's true, then the element becomes visible, right? So we want to track only that, right? Then you use this.
Yeah.
So this is all element click means, let's say they click on a button and then you have a name for the button, right? You could track that, but although it may not work in all cases, let's say, like an add to cart, for example, if you got 100 products, right? And all the buttons are called add to cart, then you wouldn't know, right? Which product's button was clicked, right? Unless you have a name for every button, right? Whereas on the other hand, let's say you have a download button, you have a form fill button, you have a submit button, right? And you want to see how many actually click that button. Then you could, go based on this click text.
Are these items that we're seeing here in the trigger section different depending on what type you choose on the far left?
Not necessarily. This is just a type. This is just to categorize, what that event is, right? But ultimately, what matters is what you enter in these two, right? You could pick anything here, call it whatever you want. But these are the two that are actually being processed by the Google Tag Manager.
So for some reason, I thought there were also trackable events such as mouse movements and scrolling to different parts of the page.
What we are doing is only a limited set of tracking, which we have seen as the most common ones. But there are tons of ways to track, right? And we have not covered all that. But if you see a need, Keith, we can add
more
kinds of tracking.
Oh, I see. So these are just ones that you've selected as most
yes,
relevant.
yes.
That could be added.
Okay. Yeah, based on like our current customer base. In fact, this list also got expanded. When we started, it was even less. But these are what we see as most commonly being used. In fact, there are exotic ways of tracking also, but it'll just only confuse the whole thing. So we have stayed away from it. But if you see a definite need, we can bring that in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So here's the so this is the condition or other. When do we want that trigger to fire, right? So let me say, I'll just put, element click, and then here's the value. So I can say submit. So anytime, the element that is clicked has a text called submit, then this will fire. That's what it means.
That's an equals, not a contains, correct?
This is equals. This is equal. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, next is called revenue. This is like more like a notional amount. So if you want to assign a weightage to every event, so you could add a number there. So for example, if you want to track a journey from the from the time a person landed onto your website all the way till purchase, you could give an increasing value to each event as they progress closer to the purchase, right? Because if you want to do some later on some analysis, this number will be helpful, but it's not mandatory. But we always recommend that you put some revenue so that there is a weightage assigned to that event.
Okay, so it's not quite the same as because of page loads, but conceptually, is the idea like I know that if somebody ultimately buys something, I make $100. But there's 3 pages, there's 5 pages between there. So, or let's just say 2. So on the very first landing page, I know that only 10% of the people are going to click. So I might assign that as a $10. It's worth 10. Every click is worth $10.
Correct.
That, and then the next one, maybe every click is worth 20 as we get closer to the actual purchase.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Okay. And this one is, when to, when is, when the trigger should fire. So there are two options here. One is every time and once per session. So what that means is, let's say a person stays on your website and then he keeps coming to the, the same page or same thing over and over again, right? So the question is whether we want to track every time that person comes in, or we just do it only once per session, right?
Yeah. Somebody keeps coming to my landing page and clicking on the button. I don't want to assign $10 every time, but
correct.
Somebody buys a necklace and then they buy another necklace and they buy another one. But we want to track that each time.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have given that option. See, very rarely is every time used, but there are occasions where we do want to track every time, but it's generally once per session. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And then we got two other options here. So one is the digest, and second is a goal. You'll start seeing very soon, like other day we discussed, right, a daily digest, which comes through email.
Right.
So and that report, in that report, you have you can see up to 5 events. That's amount of space that we have given in that report. So you could pick any of the 5 from this list that you want to see on the report.
Okay.
So if it's not clicked here, it will not see on your report. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 5 that will appear on the daily digest report. But if I uncheck this, right, then I'm not going to save it. But if I uncheck this, then it will not appear in the next day's report.
What happens if I try to click 6 or 7?
No, it will not allow you. It'll allow you only 5.
Okay.
Maximum 5 allowed. Yeah. So you can go up to only 5 because that's the amount of real estate that's there, in that report.
Now, I could use some help understanding not only the concept of goals, but the implementation.
Sure. Okay, so goal. So the difference between goal and event is goal is also a type of event, but the only difference is that's your ultimate objective. Okay. Whereas events could be many things that will lead to the goal, but the goal is the ultimate. So for example, if a company is in real estate, and for them leads are very important, right? So of course they're not going to sell anything from their website directly, right? So what is very important is their lead, and the way they track the lead is when somebody submits an inquiry, right, in their form. So they have a form. Besides that, they have got many things, right? They've got videos, they've got photographs of all the real estate properties and all kinds of things. But ultimately what matters is when somebody submits an inquiry saying that, I want to talk to you guys, or I want to visit one of these properties, right? So that will be a goal, right? But everything else on the website that we want to track is an event. So the first thing is to create the event and then say that this is a goal that, that I want to, that's one of my objectives. Whereas for an e-commerce company, it could be the ultimate goal is somebody converting, like purchasing. So like you said, right, the thank you page, when somebody reaches the thank you page, which means they have made the payment and all that, then that could be a goal. So we can select any of these events and then mark that as a goal.
Okay.
So here, we have selected so many goals. Being a demo system, we have pretty much clicked everything, but that's usually not the case. It's very, very unlikely that one will have so many goals, right? And we discourage people from making every event a goal, right? Which just doesn't make sense.
I noticed at the top you're limiting this to 20 goals and events. For a large website, wouldn't 20 be rather limiting?
See, that's because we have so far seen most of them, most websites have about 10, 15. That's why we limited 20. But this is not like a number that's sacrosanct. If there is a need, we can always increase it.
Okay, so that's not a limitation by Google, that's or by any of the ad accounts. That's a limitation that you put on there.
Yeah, just an artificial one, right? It's because just based on experience, we thought 20 is more than adequate, even for a very what should I say, quite involved website, right? I'm not talking about the very, very big ones, but even for a decent sized company, there may not be a need to track more than, because page loads are automatically tracked. It's only the specific events, that needs to be tracked, right?
Yeah, go ahead. See, I want to add one thing, Keith, is that this is not meant for e-commerce. So what this is it's for non-e-commerce. So for e-commerce, we're going to bring in something on the main page, in the campaign page, where you can actually load the catalog, and every part of the e-commerce site is going to be tracked. So that's a separate, simpler tracking. So if you're running an e-commerce, I would say just stay tuned. We're going to have a separate event tracking in the catalog. That'll be in the objective in the main campaign page. So this is mainly for non-e-commerce. For e-commerce, there'll be a separate portal which will make the tracking much easier.
Got it. Okay.
See, e-commerce, just to add to what Badri said, Keith, is so there are very advanced mechanisms for tracking e-commerce. It's just not by setting events, because it'll become impossible to set events for, if you got thousands of SKUs, right?
Right.
So what we normally do is we embed another additional set of code within the website itself. At the moment that is added, then the tracking happens automatically, right? So we don't go and set up each event separately, right? So as we add the new SKUs to the website, we keep adding the additional code. It's called JSON LD. It's an industry standard, which is supported by Google, Facebook, and others. So that's the way that e-commerce tracking happens.
Got it. Okay.
But if you
go ahead.
If you need more than 20 goals, we can absolutely expand it. But for now, I think the way we were thinking is this purely for non-e-commerce. That's why we had 20. But I think these are very small things. We can easily add it to 50 or 100 or whatever else the user base needs. Absolutely.
Yeah. As an aside, you might want to look at in Appsumo a product, an LTD. Actually, it's a one-year deal called TagMate. Have you heard of that?
TagMate? No, I've not heard of it. No.
If you go to Appsumo and look at TagMate, they have they basically set up a few dozen common event scenarios as templates.
Okay.
So you just, instead of having to enter in every event, you pick a template and it automatically populates all the events, and then you just fill in the values.
Wow.
That would be a really cool addition for you if you want to look at that for some ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me what the company is, Keith? Absolutely.
It's called TagMate here.
TagMate. Okay, got you. Okay, no.
Here, let me find the chat. There it is on Appsumo.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think it was a reasonably popular LTD. They're doing it as a 1 year, and a lot of people are not happy with that. But the LTD was pretty popular. I have not bought it because I'm not sure I need it, but it looked like it has some pretty cool features. And since you're already doing some tagging, being able to do it with templates would be really awesome.
Okay, awesome. This is great. See, I learned something today.
I think I'm going to need to end it with this. That was very helpful, Sri. Thank you. I understand the events a lot better now.
Oh, thank you very much.
Is there anything else that I need to know to tie it in, or that's automatic? As soon as I create it, it's automatically added to the tag manager, and I don't need to do anything new?
Exactly. Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to be continuing my research on my marketing research, and I'm hoping to start creating some ads this week.
Okay, outstanding, Keith. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time.
thank you. I'm sorry that you're not getting a lot of visitors, but I love the personalized attention.
No, I think we are going to post all this on YouTube and Facebook. So
Yeah.
I think people are watching. For example, the video I posted last night on audience, I've got already 15 people looking at it. So it's we are getting traction. I think a lot of them are not wanting to come in because this is for them. A lot of people are not working full time on this campaigns. For
Right.
them, this is sort of a part-time job. So for them, they want to like listen into the webinar rather than come into the webinar and ask questions. I think that's the feedback I'm getting from a lot of people.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Keith.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.